What's up, guys? Welcome to this episode of the G Team podcast. The G Team is a group of young people dedicated to
providing people with the knowledge to make the most of their life,
sharing practical ways to maximize productivity,
and offering support to those who need it to create a more fulfilled life.
My name is Peter.
And I'm Olu.
And we're your hosts for this podcast.
Thanks for tuning in, and I hope you enjoy listening.
Welcome back, guys. Today I'm joined by Olu and Adnan, and today's topic is habits. Good old habits. A big part of everyone's lives, I'm sure. Big part of my life, big part of these guys' lives. We're going to talk about it. Today we're going to talk about things like where do we learn our habits, what bad habits bother us the most, what good habits would we like to have, and how do you even create a habit? How do you create a habit that lasts? And I think we can start off with what even is a habit to you guys? Because to me, it's is a bunch of repeated behaviors that becomes subconscious in a way that's out of my control.
Yeah, I think that's a pretty good description, to be fair. And like when it comes to thinking about what is a habit, what do we know about habits? It's also kind of interesting to look at where we learn them. And I'm just gonna throw the question out there. Where do you guys think that we learn our habits? Do you think it's something that's more natural, something internal, something that we pick up from our environment, something external, a mixture of both? Is it a mixture of both? How much is it either way? Adnan, what do you think?
I would say probably, I don't know the kind of psychology about it, but probably as a child, you go through a stage of your development where you probably pick up a lot of habits from watching people around you. So obviously parents is a big one, maybe siblings, if you do have siblings. So as a child, I think you'll probably start to cement some habits in place. And then there are other factors like, I don't know, when you start going to school, people you're around at school, teachers. I think even at school, teachers try to get you to learn some good habits like reading and practicing certain things, doing your homework, all that kind of stuff. Those are kind of habits that are starting to be built at a young age. Then maybe bad habits from worse environments. You might pick up some bad habits from some friends who may have picked it up from their environment. So it is very complex. It's hard to say exactly where they originate from, but I would definitely say when you're a child and you're going through your very formative years, that's when you start picking up all kinds of habits.
Yeah, I think that too. I think definitely with childhood, and that's why people always draw comparisons between you and your parents. But even so, I look at me and my parents, and I think there's a lot of similarities between us, but there's also things that are completely different. For me, in a bad way. I wish I was more like my parents in so some different aspects, to be honest. But I guess outside of childhood, I think it's just your daily environments and your systems, which we will touch on later as well. So I guess what you start off doing for a few days or a week, and then you get used to it in terms of months and in terms of years, and then obviously that's how a habit starts. And before you know it, that's it becomes your whole identity without you realizing, until you, I guess, take conscious effort to either change it, whether you do want to change it. It's up to you, I guess.
Yeah, I think that's facts as well. Something about your personality being formed based off the stuff that you sort of take in from a young age as well. And I guess that has something to do with habits as well. People say that after the age of 7, there's a certain part of your personality that's more or less set in stone. And in turn that'll mean certain habits, whether it's you were taught manners really early on, now you're always saying please and thank you. Like that's just ingrained in you, whether it's just how you greet people. You might be taught that you have to always greet people morning, like every time you see them, it doesn't matter. But then one side of habits is obviously, the positive ones. And then you get habits, which are bad habits, which you pick up. And like what Peter was just touching on, like consciously either creating or breaking habits. I think that's something that happens, as you grow up a bit more, you become more self-aware and you start identifying that, the kind of person that you want to become. And I don't know, what would you say is harder? This is just like something that I've just thought of now, like creating, and this is like consciously creating good habits, or trying to break those habits which you think are so like deep down that they're basically in your subconscious now.
I would say
Me,
go on, Peter.
I was gonna say for me, it's definitely breaking bad habits, just because you've been doing it for so long, and firstly, you might not even know that you're doing it. Like you talked about being self-aware, but that's the first step, I guess, is being self-aware. But it's interesting when I say I talk to my friends who have known me for a long time, and then they'll start commenting on things that I do that I don't even realize I do. But yeah, so it's tougher because you have to be really self-aware and take the time to look into yourself first. And then once you've gotten to that stage, now you have to use a lot of willpower to go against it, go against something that you do often that doesn't take any energy. Let's say now I'm playing video games a lot. It's not something that takes energy out of your day to do, because it's a habit, because your mind's been ingrained to do it. Whereas having to break it, you're now having to use willpower. And yeah, willpower is a limited resource. So I think it's a lot tougher. Creating good habits as well, I think it's tough too. But with good habits, you already know what it is that you want to implement. So okay, I want to start eating healthy. That's it. You can start, I guess, putting the actions in right away. But yeah, most of the willpower will go into, let's say, avoiding unhealthy foods, or resisting the temptation to eat healthy foods. And that, to me, is probably a lot more tougher than eating a salad. Yeah.
Yeah.
I was gonna say I agree with Peter about it's probably harder to break bad habits than it is to create new good ones. I feel like when you're creating new good ones, there's a lot of positive reinforcement surrounding creating that habit. For example, going to the gym. I don't think it's very, very common that people go to the gym, they come out and they feel really great about themselves. So it's generally an easier habit to pick up. Whereas bad habits, although it is a bad habit, the outcome of that habit is sometimes something that you enjoy, or that, you don't necessarily feel a negative feeling after that bad habit. So it's harder to drop them because of that positive feeling that you get from engaging in that bad habit. So it's almost like you feel good about doing that habit, but it's a bad habit. So it's harder to drop because your brain, it's almost like, I don't know the exact psychology behind it, but it's almost like your brain's wondering why you're not doing something that makes it feel good.
Mm-hmm.
Even though you are aware that it's not good. And it can be even, something going on up there that it's hard to like control, really.
I was gonna say, I think the place that that comes from is I guess instant gratification versus delayed gratification, right? So back in the day, this is my hypothesis anyway, so let's say when food was really scarce, right? So naturally we were ingrained to eating as much food as possible, because that would increase your chance of survival since food was so scarce. So you chase that instant gratification. But obviously now we're living in a time where food is not scarce at all, or sugars, so things that produce like positive feelings or endorphins are readily available, but obviously our mind's still ingrained with the way it used to be. And I think because of that, that's why delayed gratification. So let's say most good habits, I say, have like delayed gratification. So things like eating healthy and working out, you don't really see the benefits until later, right? Like weeks later or months later, or studying a new skill. Whereas all these bad habits, they always seem to focus on instant gratification. So this food tastes nice, or this activity is fun. And that's I guess it takes a lot of mental discipline to rewire your brain to more delayed gratification.
I guess as well, like the feeling of delayed gratification, like the feeling of happiness that you get, it tends to be greater, but because it's delayed, it's also like less frequent. Whereas with all these things, whether it's like eating unhealthy, like just getting a packet of sweets, getting that fizzy drink, Mackies, whatever, you can get that really quickly, and like you can keep on getting it, and it does feel nice, but it's nowhere near as nice as like when you've put in the work to like try and like create this new habit, whether that's like eating healthy, like you said, going to the gym, and like you see the reward like much further down the line. But it's hard. It's like you were saying as well. It's just that constant battle. It's like, oh, I don't know if I want to wait that long. Like I don't know if I can wait that long. And you're just like, oh, okay, let me get this small bit of happiness now.
Yeah.
And then like later on, I'll worry about getting this delayed gratification.
And you find that I was gonna say you find that McDonald's and like unhealthy foods, generally fast food, they're so cheap and stuff. So it's easy to come by. There's so many fast food stores. There's nowhere that sells, or not nowhere, but it's very infrequent that you find like a very healthy food place frequently, and that is also cheap. The McDonald's in most cities have at least 3 or 4 McDonald's plus or more. So our cities, I'm thinking about Loughborough. There's 3 McDonald's in Loughborough, and it's not even a city. So
that's so crazy. It's so small, and that is ridiculous. Yeah, it's true. I get a lot of these bad habits. They're so readily available as well. I guess a different question I was thinking is, I guess how much do you guys think the internet perhaps influences this, like whether it's our habits or bad habits in general? Can I say this for me? Like when it comes to social media and stuff, it's one of the worst things for me. I know, like I would spend so much time on it to the fact that I always have to put my phone just in a completely different room, sometimes on different floors, like upstairs, because it's so bad. And if we're talking about instant gratification, obviously social media is one of the easiest things. You just log on and there's a bunch of stimulants in front of your face. So
even to the point.
It definitely it affects me. Like I can say that for sure, because just knowing, it's hard. Like you can't just sit still. Like, it's hard to just sit still and just be in your thoughts now, when you know that like you can get some quick entertainment if you just like scroll through Instagram or scroll through like TikTok, Twitter. It's like Twitter, like you've like, oh yeah, let me see some people's opinions that I disagree with. Like it's literally just just constant content, and like
stimulates.
It's gotten to the point where I don't even know if this. I don't know if it's a common thing, but I can say at least for me, I can't sit through an hour episode or something on Netflix now. because
I know what you mean.
my attention span
it's
much.
Crazy, right?
Like I need to like get onto the next video, onto the next topic, onto the next, like bit of content. And now I can't like literally sit through something that's an hour long. So I'd say it's definitely like affected something to do with attention. I guess you could say habits as well, how I consume media and consume information. Now I need it so fast. Like it's harder for me to sit down and like really get to the bottom of something and like find out what's the truth, quote unquote, when it's so easy to just like, take a piece of information, like, okay, I got this, on to the next piece of information. You're not really like taking the time to like, digest it and like really think about what it is that you're consuming. So yeah, I'd say it's definitely affected me. But
I was gonna add on to that. You ever find when like you're scrolling through, I don't know, TikTok or Instagram, and a video, like let's say a video, if it doesn't spur a reaction or some sort of emotion in me in 5 seconds, then I'm scrolling to the next one.
Just get past it.
Facts.
Yeah.
Facts.
If it's not fast enough to pull something out of me that makes me laugh or makes me smile or something like that, or at least, makes me feel something, then I'm already on to the next one. I don't know. I noticed that with me now. Like I would just scroll past it if it's just not good enough.
Attention spans are messed up now. Yeah, no, it's crazy. There's so many aspects that you don't even realize. Even me, like, let's say when I'm going out to dinner with friends or stuff, I have to be conscious of, not checking my phone, because I think like that's so rude. Like you're supposed to, you're here to actually talk to people. Then I guess like when there's ever one of those silences, I wouldn't even say it's an awkward silence, it's a natural silence that you have, but then like you reach for your phone, say, no need to do that, you know what I mean? And then all my days, like at the worst of it, I was probably spending like 5 hours or something on social media. Like I didn't realize it until I checked. Like I was actually tracking it, and obviously that made me very depressed. And then I guess like set me on my path to try and change it, which is literally just put my phone in a different room. Because I know it takes so much willpower to have to change that. So it's just, I'll just not give myself the option. But yeah, so I guess in terms of bad habits that affect us the most, we say attention spans, the internet, social media. Yeah. It's bad. It's bad. I think. Do you know what else is? Sometimes it's like I become enticed with. You probably touched on this before, but enticed with looking at people that disagree with me, just for that sensational feel. I think it's good to have debates and whatnot, but sometimes I think on the internet there's a lot of stupid people, to be honest. But like
it's trolling as well. Like a lot of people, like they actually they don't really care. It's like you said, they don't want to grab your attention. And like once they've got you, they've got me looking like I see a controversial tweet. I'm looking at the quote replies. I'm looking at the immediate replies. I'm looking at the replies to the replies. Like I want to get every single opinion. And now the original person might have just been tweeting it for no reason, like just to get a reaction. And they've got it. And they've got my attention.
Now you're 2 hours deep. You're 2 hours deep into like your 21st essay about why NBA YoungBoy is better than Jack Harlow. What do you do? Stupid. Really stupid conversations.
Yeah, it's like a feeling of wanting to be right, isn't it? Like I want to be right on the internet and show everyone that I was right. So I'm gonna spend 2 hours.
Yeah. Oh, it's horrible. Because like, when it comes to it, you probably won't even run into these people in real life, right? I think that's what I had to learn recently. Is like when you actually go out and talk to real life people, a lot of this stuff you see on the internet, it's not that real. But yeah, well, that's our bad habits, I guess.
I'm just curious, like, to hear what you guys' opinion is on this. Like, we can say it's not real, but It kind of is. Like it kind of it's different to like, you know, reality in like the physical world. But the virtual world is still very real. And like, you know, the stuff that happens on there, it has consequences in the real world. Things that happen in the real world, like the physical world, have consequences that happen in the virtual world. So it's hard. Like I wanna say, it's not real, but when we think about it, like it is very real. And if you're not involved and you don't know how it works, then you're kind of at a disadvantage. So as bad as it is that we've like formed all these bad habits along with social media, I feel like there's a lot that we've learned as well, like just in our generation, that is kind of advantageous as well. And I don't know. I feel like I've accidentally turned this into a debate about social media, whether it's good or bad.
I mean, it's probably, it's not just us. In terms of problems with social media, I think it affects many people in terms of, it's probably their worst habit, either spending too much time on it or getting too caught up in it. I say especially within Gen Z, it's probably the single-handedly the worst problem. I think that and being too soft. But that's a different combo. I think the mindset that I've tried to adopt is if I don't know too much stuff about anything, even if it's a topic that I read into a bit, but it's like if I don't know enough, I just simply will say I don't have an opinion on it, and I just mind my own business, because if I drag myself and then get involved into it, I know nothing good's gonna come out of it. Then I'm just gonna be irritated by it, even though like in the midst of it, it's like, you might feel like you got a point to prove, but at the end of the day, like who you trying to impress? You know, like these strangers that you don't even know. And then I think like a lot of these opinions, when they come together, it can create a large effect, but for the most part, they don't actually affect let's say larger organizations. If we're talking about people that talk about politics, or they talk about, oh, person X needs to be cancelled for reasons 1, 2, and 3. It's like it does
doesn't really translates to the real world as much,
right? Yeah. Exactly. Like you might feel like these people have they certainly do have a voice online, and a lot of these people even have a massive following online. But when it comes to real world stuff, I would say 80% of people, maybe even more, don't have these mindsets, and it's not something that I believed in until I guess I started doing street interviews, and I asked people about what they thought about cancel culture, politics, relations between this community and this community, and honestly, like it's not as bad as a lot of people make it out to be, but I guess that's a different topic, and in terms of myself, it's just, if I don't know enough about it, I just mind my business.
It's the best thing to do. Yeah.
But that's our worst habits. I'm sure some of you guys can relate as well. But if we move it on and we talk about good habits instead, might be a bit more scarce, but we can try and look at some. So we covered bad habits, or the singular worst habit that we have. Go on to good habits. What good habits do you think you have, or the best habits that other people have that you admire? For me, it's the flip side. It's simply people who have a high attention span, and people who are able to focus on one thing at a time. It sounds so simple, but I think in today's world, it's such a hard thing to do. Is to stick to one thing at a time when there's so many different things coming at you. And that's something I'm trying to implement myself in terms of, I guess, when I'm doing work online, trying to block out specific time to only work on this and this and this, and then having to blog websites so that, again, I don't give myself the option to do something else. Yeah. What about you, Adnan?
I would say I'm not very good at this, but one of the good habits that I do like to see in people is planning and punctuality. They're very good at planning themselves and their days and their time, and they don't delay. So they're not late. They're not always late. They're always on time or early and stuff like that. Because it does take a lot of willpower to plan your day, especially weekends and stuff. Fair enough if you've got a job, that kind of plans most of your day for you. But being able to do things on the weekend with multiple different groups of people, that kind of stuff, and making sure that everything is kind of planned, that is a pretty difficult skill to master. So I think that's something that I want to be better at, because I think in a few friend groups I'm known as the guy the guy who's always late. Or
that's funny. You know, that's me too. I don't say that proudly, but it's true. Oh man.
Yeah, we're all guilty of it. No, I'm with you. Like, I think the key thing is probably just organization, right? And there's so many different aspects to it. There's obviously like time organization, resource organization, you know, like even you can break it down to like finances as well.
Yeah.
For me, there's one thing that I think is just, if you sort this out, then a lot of other things come into place. Like having a good sort of sleep schedule, where you wake up at a certain time.
That's so true.
It's way easier to organize your time if you're going to be awake during the same hours every day. That's one thing. True. So sleep. Secondly, like a good habit, exercise. That's a good way to regularly get your is it endorphins?
Endorphins going.
Yeah, get them flowing. And then food, like making sure you're eating well. If you sort those three, like, I think you become a more productive as a person. Just like straight up, you're well rested, well fed, and you know you've been exercising. So like that's just good.
Yeah, I think
once you've sorted those things, like it's just better for you. Like everything just kind of falls into place. That's what I found.
Yeah, I agree. I think when it comes down to all of these good habits that we talk about, they're not particularly complex things at all. It's kind of sad, actually, but I guess a lot of people struggle with it, including us. But yeah, I guess they don't have to be complex good habits at all. Like it all starts very small and very basic, and it's about the consistency to make it last, I guess. And yeah, so how do you even create a habit that lasts? Is something that we talk about all the time. For me, it starts with your system. So a lot of people love to set goals, which definitely help. But I think if you focus a lot more on your system, so your immediate environment and your immediate practices, you'll eventually reach your goals no matter what you're doing. So let's say we take my professional athletes, their goal is to win the league or whatever in whatever sport they play, which is an amazing goal. But you think of all these professional athletes that have this exact same goal. Some of them don't achieve that goal, but they still have the same practices and the same systems that the winners had, you know, and that was, I guess, waking up at the same time every day to shoot hoops for this amount of time, or do training this amount of time on this certain aspect. And so long as you keep that consistent, even without having the goal, you'll probably get close to it or be in a good position to achieve that goal. Whereas I think everyone sets goals, but setting goals can perhaps, in a way, you delay your enjoyment of the activity that you're doing until you reach your goal. Straight out of Atomic Habits, actually, that was an interesting point that I found. What do you guys think?
Like definitely what you just touched on at the end. Not well, making sure you still allow yourself to enjoy the process and the journey, rather than reaching the goal and then you get that feeling where it's over now. Like, what next? It's always important to have something where each day or each step of the way you're appreciating the journey, in getting to a particular goal, and like in doing that and in that sort of enjoyment and in that concentration and that focus, that's where you're really forming the habit, I guess. Just being aware of the process taking place as you're going through it, rather than it just being like a means to an end, if you know what I mean, which would be like, producing,
Exactly,
achieving a particular goal.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, can't really say much more on what you guys have said, to be honest. I think not enough people know how to actually form habits, or don't know what it takes to form a habit. There's a lot of psychology behind it. There's a lot of, it requires you to actually sit down and say to yourself internally that, I'm going to do this, and it's going to take discipline, and I'm not going to like it sometimes. And my body's going to tell me that I don't like it. My brain's going to tell me that I don't want to do this. But that's how you build discipline. That's how you kind of start forming those habits. And yeah, I don't know. I just feel like the reason why a lot of people have these bad habits from a young age is because they don't understand that your brain is wiring itself all the time, depending on what you do and what you expose yourself to and what you spend most of your time doing and all that kind of stuff. So it's a very complex matter, the whole habit forming and what it means to your body. However, we do have free will. We can say, I'm gonna not pick up that chocolate bar. I'm not gonna eat this. I'm gonna go to bed at this time. There's an element of forcing yourself to do things that we all have the capability of doing. Just some people are stronger than others. Some people have more willpower than others. And like you said, you don't want to depend on just your willpower to make these habits. You want to be able to say, I did everything I could. I took all these steps, and make it as easy for yourself as possible, kind of thing.
Yeah, I agree. I think people in general, including us, is like it's easy to look super long term and think something is so hard to achieve. But if you just start small, to start like tracking it daily and think, so long as you're 1% better every single day, at the end of the day, slow progress is better than no progress.
Yeah.
Start small, and just keep the momentum going, and then later down the line, you'll really start to see the compound of all your efforts. And yeah,
as they say, Rome wasn't built in a day. What people like to say.
Rome wasn't built in a day. Instagram wasn't made to be toxic.
I think that's how it goes.
Yeah,
that's that second one. Okay.
But that's our brief little conversation about topics. Hope you guys enjoyed. Hope you guys found something insightful. Main takeaways is you got it within yourself. So just stay consistent, believe in yourself, and don't be swayed by all these internet trolls.
Straight up.
Okay, that's the end of the episode. Hope you guys have a good day, and we will see you in the next episode.
Yes.
Bye-bye.
Thanks for listening to the G Team podcast. You can catch more episodes on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and more, where we try to build our lives one step at a time.